Hey guys, it's Oluchi for Ray's Breakfast. Thanks for always tuning in. Our research has shown that you're probably not subscribed to our channel. What are you waiting for? Make sure you hit that subscribe button below so you never miss out on our latest content and stay in the loop with all things Ways. If the channel grows, it means more great content for you guys. So hit that subscribe button now.
Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we discuss topics in the news as they affect all of us. My name is Sandra Eze, and today I am joined by my amazing co-anchors. For the first time ever, I'm here with Franca.
Hey. How are we doing?
We are doing good, given Nigeria and everything happening. We're doing great so far.
We'll survive.
Yeah, we're survivors. And Alera is joining us virtually. Hi, Alera.
How's it going? How's it going?
Very well, good evening.
Green is a great color. I've missed you.
Oh.
How's your day, Alera?
I need to come out more. I think it's good. I've been working more from this whole fall situation is not allowing me to move around.
Okay.
So it's just been crazy on the mainland. So I'm just respecting myself and working from home.
Oh,
basically.
nice.
Yeah.
You look relaxed though.
Absolutely. And
I am relaxed. I've
I
actually been sleeping well for the past 3 days.
Yes, you look very relaxed. Yeah. Your skin is popping.
Well, isn't that what remote work does for you? And big shout out to Lagos State government for encouraging more people, more civil servants to work from home. I think right now the new rule is you can do 2 or 3 days at home and then show up 2 or 3 days to work. So they just have a way to balance it. I think that's very considerate.
Yes, it is.
All right. Yes, yes. If you're yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, please go ahead to Official Upgrade TV, at Official Upgrade TV. Click the subscribe button now, like, and share the link. Tonight, we are discussing the resilient spirit of Nigerians living in diaspora, and here is what we found on today's quote. To Nigerians everywhere, at home and in the diaspora, I am in awe of your talent, resilience, and innovation. Ehinlaiy. That's by Jane Igaro, sorry. And I believe that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. We are very, I mean, you meet a Nigerian, you're looking at,
just about us.
It's a definition of the average Nigerian. Survivors.
And with the pigeon part, the pigeon, Ehinlaiy.
Yep, it's necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. We could use more of that encouragement.
Yes.
So today's conversation will be on the resilient spirit of Nigerians living in diaspora. When we open our phone lines, we'd love to hear what you have to say. But first, let's go on a break to see what we found in the news. Stay with us.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges.
With the growing youth population and very little engagement.
That is a ticking time bomb.
We're blessed people with a diverse culture who have a lot to say.
And yes, we are talking. It is important we drive conversations that informs, inspires, and influences thoughts and actions.
If we say there is beauty in diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture.
We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation.
As we are the hope for the future,
Yesterday's conversation shaped today.
What are you saying to shape your tomorrow?
We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
You're still watching Ways, and now for international holidays. Today is Patriot Day, and it is observed in the United States on September 11th each year. It commemorates the tragic events of September 11, 2001, popularly known as 9/11, when terrorists targeted the World Trade Center in New York City, the Pentagon near Washington, D.C., and a hijacked plane that crashed in Pennsylvania. The date serves as a solemn remembrance of the nearly 3,000 people who lost their lives and honors the first responders, rescue workers, and ordinary citizens who demonstrated extraordinary bravery and compassion in the aftermath of the attacks. It is a time for reflection, remembrance, and in many communities, public ceremonies and moments of silence. While Patriot Day is not a federal public holiday, it is recognized by various institutions and observed in different ways across the country. I remember 9/11, it was a day that particularly changed the history of the world. And most people would say that there were two major changes in the 21st century. The first was 9/11, and then the second was COVID. Yeah, so 9/11 opened us up to more security checks, and then COVID brought about more health consciousness and more health checks.
I think because the 9/11 was really, I think it was the first one, and a lot of people, the way they died,
Yes.
the way, it just struck a lot of nerves, and it was just a sad day for so many people, seeing the whole thing just before you and
The
all
Twin
that.
Towers just crumbling.
Just crumbling,
It was very devastating. And for a lot of us, that was the first introduction to the reality of terrorist attacks.
Yeah.
Because as at the time, Nigeria was maybe not experiencing it so much, but eventually...
Yeah, I think it was really new. We didn't know what it was to experience such
Yes, and then
incidents.
a few years later, we were introduced to Boko Haram, and that, well, we're still fighting that and alongside other terrorist attacks, but we're good. Let's look at what we found in the news, starting with you, Franca. What did you find in the news for us?
Okay, so the naira weakens to 1,634 to $1. The Nigerian naira has lost further grounds against the United States dollar, with the exchange rate hitting 1,637.59 at the close of trading on Tuesday. According to the data from the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange, the naira depreciated by 14.63 against the dollar, down from 1622.69 on Monday. This decline marks a 0.90% drop in the value of the naira against the dollar, making it more expensive for Nigerians to purchase foreign goods and services. The FMDQ data shows that the foreign exchange market witnessed a significant turnover of $143.15 million, indicating a high level of trading activity. So this news is not really the news because it's not new anymore, but the comments, the comments are so interesting because I think everybody is just tired, and you see comments like, nothing good to hear about this country. This kind of news, the weekend person. Can we just sell this country and give our parents our own?
No, they did not say that.
Can we just sell this country and give my parents my own share? So it just tells you how bad. And somebody said, it's over. Another one said, onto the nest. So there's nothing, there's nothing. There's really nothing. It's not news anymore. People are, they've started, okay, this is what it is. It's no longer news for anybody.
And that's really sad, Franca, because the devaluation, and that's for the official market.
Yeah.
The black market is obviously there. I don't know if the official market and the black market, that's the parallel market, I don't know if they're having some form of competition, because that one keeps racing and then the official market keeps trying to catch up. Black market is about 1,660.
Yeah.
Right now.
60? No, 80.
Oh, it's 80 now.
Yeah, the last time I checked, that was 2 days ago, it was about 80,
okay.
yes.
Well, pardon me. There you have it, the reality of living in Nigeria. But we are survivors. Let's move on to another story that has like the most hilarious comments. And it's not exactly the best situation, and that would be Nigeria's Vice President, Shatima, went on to, as we know, he is from Borno State, and given the devastating flooding situation that people in Borno State are facing right now, particularly the capital city, Maiduguri, being that 70% of Borno's capital city, Maiduguri, is currently submerged in water. The animals in the zoo, about 80% of them are dead. The rest have escaped, so we don't even know what is lurking underwater. About 500,000, about 500,000 people displaced. There is a jailbreak. The jail walls were broken down as a result of the floods, and so we have some convicted criminals out on the run. The cemetery, the water sort of dug up the bodies, so we have dead bodies floating around. It is a whole disaster going on in Maiduguri right now, which is very sad. Oh, I also saw a clip of someone who was holding the pole, you know, the high pole.
Why? Just
they
to
were
survive?
in water, yeah, for stability, because maybe the person can't swim or something, so for stability. And for a moment I thought, what would happen if there is like electricity flash for 3 seconds? That's it. Everyone in that water is gone. And so Vice President Shatima paid a visit to Maiduguri, and we saw clips of him walking thigh deep into the water, which a lot of people would say, okay, that is at least is trying to sympathize with his people. But now here is the shocker. People who are devastated with flooding situation, and what the remedy becomes to promise them 50 trucks of rice.
You see this rice issue, this rice, this rice. What will I go do with this rice, you Nigerians?
Meanwhile, they're still fighting for 40,000 naira bags of rice in Abuja, where you need your NIN to be able to get the rice.
How does it?
That's not their major need right now. That's not their, and we know Maiduguri to be one of the food baskets of, not the official food basket, but they're very good with food production, yam, rice. And so far, with this flooding situation, about 125,000 acres of farmland has been destroyed. So rice is not their major challenge right now. That dam has been there, and I'd like to believe that Alua dam that was the dam collapsed, and that was the major cause of the flooding. Yeah. So I'd like to believe that it has perhaps shown signs here and there that
it was ignored.
Yes. And so now this is medicine after that. What 50 trucks of rice, how does it help my life? How does it give me back the electronics in my house?
Can they cook the rice? Because
Where do
they
you
don't
cook
have homes.
They're in IDPs. They're displaced people. They're living in camps right now. So how does that help the situation? It's sort of the same thing they do during elections, where you say, I'll pay you 5,000 naira and then you vote for me. So I sell my vote for 5,000 naira, and 5,000 naira finishes in 1 day. As a matter of fact, in today's Nigeria, 5,000 naira will buy you 3 liters of fuel, and that's it. So what happens after that?
Misplaced priorities again.
Totally, I have to agree with that. But yeah, let's leave it alone and move on to the next story. Alera, let's have your story. Or if you have a contribution to make before you head on to your story.
To be honest, I really don't know what else to say. Like you said in the earlier quotes, that Nigerians are resilient. The type of thing that Nigerians have to go through. So this whole it was not a natural disaster because it was caused by a dam, but this thing has actually displaced people. So this is not going to add to the problem that they already have. So they had where to put their heads to think about their problem. Now they don't have anywhere to put their heads to think about their problem because it has made their problem worse. Well, Jesus, on to another problem. Court admits 10 end bad governance protesters to 10 million naira bail. Justice Emeka Nwete of the Federal High Court, Abuja, had granted bail to Michael Tobiloba, Ada Romoye, known as Lenin, and 9 others that were the protesters for
the end bad governance protesters.
A couple of weeks ago. The protesters are facing a 6-month charge. They are facing a 6-month charge of treason, incitement of mutiny, intimidation of the president, and destruction of public properties. The protesters were brought into the court for allegedly engaging in activities that undermine national security and public order.
Okay.
So now these guys have been, remanded by the court, and they've been asked to pay 10 million naira bail for protesting against bad governance. I'm wondering, since when did protesting become a crime in this country? Can't anything be done regarding this? Anyway, like I said, on to another sad news, because people went to fight for their country and now they are being remanded, and I really don't know what else to do.
Lagos, Abuja, where?
This was in Abuja. They were arrested in Abuja, and this is really sad. This is one of the, alongside the flooding story, this is one of the trending stories in Nigeria, and it brings about a lot of questions. And what even breaks people's hearts further is the fact that the man who is the current president of Nigeria is a man who has a history of spearheading protests. We remember the Say No to Subsidy protest back in 2012. He was one of them. And I was listening to Shehu Sani, or thereabouts, who was talking about the good old days when he was back in the trenches with President Bola Tinubu. And he would say that he went ahead to sponsor lots of protests against the government. And now seeing that he's in power and this is happening. And another thing that I find really ridiculous are the conditions for this bill. First of all, a man goes out to protest the fact that I am hungry. Because it's End Bad Governance protest. Also, another hashtag is hunger protest. Yeah. A man is hungry, and you arrest him and give him a bill of 10 million naira. How in the world is he going to pay 10 million naira? Or is this a way of just saying, you know what, we don't want to let them go, but if we must let them go, let's make it such that it's difficult for them to leave? Because beyond the 10 million naira, they also need to find someone a guarantor that has property in Abuja. Yeah. That's one. And then they are willing to drop their international my international passport? That's almost and that's before the hearing. The hearing is, I think, September 27th or so. So you're practically making it obvious that you people, you're not going anywhere. But just so it is written that we granted you bail, this is your bail, or find a way to walk around it.
And then it also feels like a sign of threat, like, okay, y'all can see what's going to happen.
So you try it next time.
Anyway, so we will see you after we go on the break and just get over this sad news all over the news. We'll be right back. This is Break. This is Ways.
Nigeria, by extension, Africa, is faced with a lot of challenges.
With the growing youth population and very little engagement.
That is a ticking time bomb.
We're blessed people with a diverse culture who have a lot to say.
And yes, we are talking.
It is important we drive conversations that informs, inspires, and influences thoughts and actions.
If we say there is beauty in diversity, then let us embrace our diverse culture.
We must continue to courageously be the voice of transformation.
As we are the hope for the future, yesterday's conversation shaped today.
What are you saying to shape your tomorrow?
We know you have a lot to say, and we are here to hear you.
All right, thanks. This is Ways. I'm Sandra Eze. I've got Franca here and Alero joining us virtually. Nigerians worldwide are known to be strong, resilient, and hardworking. In every corner of the world, there are stories of courage, determination, and the unbreakable spirit of people who carry their heritage wherever they go. Tonight, we shine a spotlight on a remarkable community, the resilient Nigerians living in the diaspora. From bustling cities to quiet towns, Nigerian expatriates have made their mark with unwavering strength and extraordinary contributions. whether it's through their achievements in business, their impact in local communities, or their efforts to preserve and share their rich culture. These individuals embody a spirit of perseverance and pride. Join us as we explore the remarkable journey of Nigerians abroad, celebrating their achievements and unbreakable spirit. Joining us to have this conversation is a family law lawyer, host talk with Mo, and founder of the Bond Awards. She goes by the name Modupe Ehinlaiy, and she joins us virtually. Hello, Modupe. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello. It's so nice to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, a whole pleasure here. And you look amazing, by the way.
Oh, thank you. So do you. I'm just admiring all of you, Franca, yourself, and Alera. You look great. Thank you for this wonderful station. I didn't know about it. I just got to know about it today. But you sure won me over, and I will be subscribing and sharing as well. You're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you so much. So you are you founded Bond Awards. Just tell us in summary, what is that? Because I watched your video about that, and it kind of caught my interest. Tell us about that.
Well, thank you. BOND is an acronym for Best of Nigerians in Diaspora. So BOND, it has nothing to do with James Bond, as most people would ask me.
James Bond.
The best of Nigerians. I'm sorry?
No, I said it has nothing to do with James Bond or something.
No, nothing to do with James Bond. But we do like the excellence of James Bond. So we're probably tagging on that line. And just as the name implies, the best of Nigerians in diaspora, I live in Canada, and I've come across several Nigerians who've accomplished so much in this country. I've been here for about 19 years now, and just meeting people day after day and seeing the perseverance, the resilience. If there's one word that really does describe Nigeria, it is that word resilient. And sometimes it is thrown around, without thought to the word. But Bond is set to shine a spotlight on those resilient Nigerians who have, in spite of all odds, in spite of their challenges, be it social, economic, whatever kind of barrier you think about, they have faced, and yet they are rising above all of those challenges. Bond is set to celebrate them on September 13th, 2024. And the purpose of doing that is twofold, actually. I have kids, and seeing kids grow up in this environment, sometimes you wonder if they are inspired or if they get inspired by other Nigerians. So we're doing Bond. A Bond is set to also inspire the next generation so that they can see Nigerians in spaces they didn't think Nigerians were in. And so sometimes you would never believe Nigeria is at the helms of affair in a particular corporation, even a government corporation. Mm-hmm. But Bond is bringing all of those well-accomplished Nigerians out to say, hey, we've got to celebrate you. You are there and you are representing Nigerians. And so not just to inspire the next generation, but also to begin to change the narrative, the negative narrative, and the narrative around Nigerians in living in diaspora. And we all hear the news, and sometimes it's not palatable what we hear, and sometimes that treatment is met on Nigerians here without, just out of ignorance. So I think it's high time we begin to tout our own horns. Nigerians are known to accomplish things, but be quiet about it. So we want to change that. We want to make all the noise. We want to amplify the accomplishments of Nigerians living abroad, because they have done so through thick and thin, like they will say.
Yeah, so being that you have lived you've lived abroad for 19 years, like you said, you've been in Canada for 19 years, and given that we are discussing this topic, the resilient spirit of Nigerians living in diaspora, what would you say are some of the major challenges faced by Nigerians living in diaspora?
The very first one is adaptability. Nigerians we leave our country, and we want to make a home in Canada, in US, in UK, Europe, wherever. We want to make a home, and sometimes we come with that mentality of living in Nigeria. As something as simple as parenting, and I say as simple as parenting because that is one area that is never talked about, it's glossed over. People leave Nigeria, they parented in a particular style. No one held them to account. And they come to live abroad, transition abroad, and they want to continue in that same style of parenting. And I'll elaborate on that because sometimes people wonder why should the parenting style change? Not so much the style, but paying attention because you're in a new environment and kids are different. For example, children in Nigeria, I grew up doing about 16 to 17 subjects in high school. I believe it's still the same thing.
Absolutely,
most
yes.
kids here in high school, they're taking 3 or 4 subjects. And so you have a high achieving child from Nigeria who's used to chemistry, biology, physics.
Introductory technology, all of it.
All of it.
It's a great
design. You have that child transfer here, and they go to school and they get to know that, oh, for the whole semester, we just have 4 subjects. And that child can either become demotivated or not challenged. And if you're not paying attention, you begin to get a child who's becoming a loafer pretty quickly. And the child begins to fail, not because they're not brilliant, not because they're not being able to understand what's happening in class, but because the parent is not paying attention. This child needs to be challenged. This child needs to be motivated. So this is where you put the child in extracurricular activities. Make sure the child is grounded in other areas, leadership, public speaking, so that the child is still challenged and can function in this space. So that is one area. So adaptability is a big thing. There are some cultural innuendos that we carry over here. The work culture in Nigeria is very different from the work culture here. And so people are not able to transition and adapt into the socio-economic culture and cultural aspects here. And that usually is one of the biggest setbacks because there's friction in the family. As a family law lawyer, that is usually one of the big foundations that I see that causes the breakdown of the marriage, the breakdown of the family, and it's really sad because we can unlearn and relearn once we make up our mind that we're going to leave our homes and come live abroad. We must be ready, but certain individuals are not ready, or they're not prepared to make the amendments that is necessary to be able to adapt to the new environment so they can thrive.
Okay, interesting. I like the fact that you highlighted the part about children and adaptability, because oftentimes you always look at it from the angle of you're going there, you're walking, but how does the change affect a child? Because right now we know that most Nigerians are leaving, and they're not living alone. They're moving with the entire family. Yeah, so I'll let you ask your question, Franca.
Okay, so what she said, I've had so many issues. In fact, I know some families who had to send their kids back because when they moved, the kids got, there's a bit of freedom, in quotes, when you move. You're not, in Nigeria, there's this thing that, the teachers or everybody is very strict, that putting an eye on you to see that, they're getting back to you. But what happens over there is your parents are being sent emails. And if your parents don't know that, they should check their emails, you don't get that report that, that the child is not even attending class. So there was a particular, in fact, my niece was telling me that there was a particular boy, he would not come to class. Apparently the parents were busy because they had to keep 2 jobs, trying to make money, and maybe because, maybe, in quotes, they sold everything they had to Japa and all that. So they were focused on work, so they didn't have time But by the time they realized where he was, the boy was already, was not in school, and they had to send him back to Nigeria. Yes, they had to send him back. So I think it's a real struggle. And one would think that, based on everything we hear, that the kids that were had there, that people that grew up there, would not, the ones here would kind of be better off. But over the years, I've realized that the kids over there are even better than the ones who moved from here there.
To there.
Yes. I discovered, I don't know if what I'm saying makes any sense to you. It happens that, the ones, they're not able to cope properly. They get carried away with so many things.
Culture shock.
Culture shock. So many things, not being able to, I think when you have too much freedom, it's either a negative or a positive effect. It gives you either positive or negative effect on the child. So I think a lot of negative effects are being experienced by a lot of children. So my question is there something that can be done for parents to understand that they have to work on themselves?
As regarding their children?
As regarding even moving. Because you're moving, you just don't move, you understand? You can't just move without even getting to understand where you're moving to, what is applicable where you're moving to.
And how it affects your
family.
And how
it affects even you, your relationship with your children, and the outcome of the output of your kids. So is that something that...
Like a preparation class
something that would say, what, if you want to Japa now, like your bond and all that, are you doing something to say, for people who think they want to move, this is what we think you should do? Is there something like that?
All right, so Modupe, I will let you answer that question right after this break. Stay with us. This is Ways. All right, if you are just joining us, if you just tuned in, we are still having the discussion, the resilient spirit of Nigerians living in diaspora, and we still have our guest, Modupe Ehinlaiy, here with us. And please, let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation by sending us an SMS or sending a message to WhatsApp, and the number is 081-803-84663. Once again, that's 0818-038-4663. Our phone line is now open. Please call us on 0702 500 7749 and 0701 424 2420, especially if you're planning to evacuate or migrate and leave Nigeria. You should be engrossed in this conversation right now. Okay, let's connect back with our guest, Modupe. And Franca asked a question earlier about if there is a preparation process for parents who are planning to migrate.
That's a great question. I think many immigrants who are here can begin to think of a preparatory class for parents coming. However, I think the responsibility is on the person who's moving to kind of find out what the environment is, how they're going to adapt, what that even means, what the culture shock would look like for themselves, for their kids. But apart from that, speaking quite frankly, I've done a lot of series on parenting on my Talk with Mo show. And I invite seasoned professionals, from police officers to social workers, to talk on this topic of parenting and the Japa syndrome. Also spoken, and we've interviewed several people who will say they Japad recently from different fields of discipline. So, however, there's no one, would I say, antidote for helping or saving the situation. Parents, whether you're not a parent or just young adults, whoever it is that wants to migrate from one country to another, it doesn't even have to be Canada. I find that people don't do a lot of homework. All they're consumed is, I want to leave Nigeria. And I get it. I understand sometimes people just want to live and think they'll figure it out when they get there. But there are certain things that can't be figured out when you get here. You need to start figuring it out there. We've had kids who are doing well, who got here, they're balanced in the way they're growing, they're able to adapt. Why is that? That's because those parents took time in asking around other parents that have been here, paying attention to those emails you referred to, Franca. You know, any relationship, whether it's a romantic one, whether it's a familial one, or even a work relationship, would take time. And I understand that parents need to work to settle their bills and you know, get acclimatized with the new environment. But at what risk? At what cost? So sometimes, you know, you don't do this alone. We all say it takes a village. And Canada is growing with a lot of Nigerians. So there's really no municipality that you're in that you do not have a small community of Nigerians living there. But people still want to do things in silos. And I think that is one of the negative aspects that I would want to call out. If you're coming into a new environment, then you shouldn't do things in silos. You should reach out to people who've been here and find out how you can get help. There's usually the church or a religious outlet. There's the school. The schools always provide seminars, parenting seminars, newcomers seminars. There are lots of resources. There's the resource center, there's the community center, there's the recreational center. If anyone needs to get information, information is out there to be heard. But they need to be able to, they need to desire to put in the work and to want to see those transformations, not only in the children, but in themselves, because children are sponges. They soak up everything they're learning, not from just what you're saying, but what they are saying. And so sometimes parents are saying one thing, but the kids are observing so much. A kid who was used to going to church every Sunday in Nigeria, every Wednesday for prayer meeting, suddenly gets here and the parents say, we're going to do church online. They look at that for the first week, second week, and then the kid becomes a teenager. They're used to this. You, the parent, now get upset that they're not serious with church. Well, who started it? Where did that come from? So there's a lot of, you know, we can spend the whole day talking about this, unpacking this. It's deep, but back to the topic of the day on the resilient. In spite of parenting challenges, in spite of work challenges, in spite of economic challenges, and so much, Nigerians have learned to thrive in spite of all that. Be it in academia, in medicine, in technology. We see that every day, and that is one of the things Bond wants to celebrate.
All right, let me see. Alera, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, now I'm looking forward to, because I know you work a lot with Nigerians in diaspora. I'm curious what you have to say.
I mean, a lot of the people that I speak with are in the diaspora. And I mean, the question that I even have for Modupe this evening is around, you know, the migration pattern for the past couple of years. We know that in the mid-20th century, due to the colonial era, most people that were traveling abroad were traveling based on scholarship, or maybe they get an opportunity, they win the lottery, you know, that's the only reason why most people will want to jackpot. And they don't even see it as jackpot. They're like, okay, I'm going to maybe further my education, you know. And then when, I think during the military rule, some people that could afford to run away or relocate actually relocated. So my question now is, it's clear that most Nigerians relocate because of either political situations or economical situations, like what we know right now, that the government have threatened mostly the medical guys that they should not relocate anymore. So my own question is, the trend up from back in the 20th century till now, what have you observed? Has the trend, you know, increased? Is it reducing? What would you say is the real, migration trend over the decades?
I think the answer is obvious. Everyone you know is living in Nigeria. It's a sad situation.
It is.
When we left in 2006, we left in 2006 December. We left then because it just felt like we needed to live to give our children better opportunities. We had great jobs. So we had the what do you call it, the permanent residency visa with us for months and months, because we were just like, well, why would we leave Nigeria? We're doing fine. The kids were in good schools, they're doing okay. But is that better? Is that better? You keep asking yourself that. But when you wake up to the sound of gunshots, and then you hear that the gunshots came from the next estate, and oh, by the way, the victims were maybe a single parent, and she was raped along with her kids. As a parent, all the alarm bells in your body begins to ring. And if you have that on your hands, you ask yourself, what's keeping you? What's stopping you? When we left then, we thought, oh, wow, we're living the best part of our lives, and then we're going to start all over. And then 4 or 5 years down the road, people are calling us, oh, you guys saw the future. It's not something to jubilate about, because we left so that we could come back to something better. But until that happens, sadly, we're going to continue to see an exodus kind of situation. It saddens me because it's almost the best of Nigerians, really. No pun intended. The best of Nigerians, Nigerians. And then we're celebrating them here.
You're absolutely correct. The fact that I remember having that conversation with someone at some point, and the person said that, sincerely speaking, it seems as though it is the best of Nigerians living, because those are the people who can afford the flight tickets, who can afford to pay for the visas. The average Nigerian who is hungry right now and suffering the economic hardship in a very gross way, or going through different harrowing experiences from bandits and kidnappers, most of them cannot afford to leave right now. And so the strong hands in Nigeria are the ones leaving, which is a very sad situation. And I'm definitely looking forward to how Mr. President handles that situation. But I'd like to ask you further, Modupe, what would you say? Like you mentioned earlier, we've seen Nigerians thriving, which is basically what Bond Awards is about, celebrating these Nigerians who somehow, irrespective of the challenges and the obstacles facing them outside of the country, wherever they're settled, be it Canada, United Kingdom, or US or Australia, somehow they seem to thrive. So I'm curious, and I know a lot more other people are curious as well, what seems to be the secret behind this, how easily they thrive? Well, it seems easy though. What is the secret behind their thriving, whether in business, academics, in technology, science? What really is the secret?
Interesting question. And yeah, I had a Caucasian asking that question recently, and a friend of mine said, no, there's something they give to us to eat, and when you wake up, when you're 4 years old, they introduce you to that, and the guy says, seriously, give me the recipe. We all laughed about it. But truth be told, I think it's ingrained in you when you've gone through the kind of tough situations you have gone through in Nigeria, and you leave. Then there's something inside of you that says, I cannot go back to being that. I cannot go back to that place. I want better. And so whatever it takes, I'm going to strive. This morning, I was chatting with a friend and he said, would you believe I just read in the papers, kidnapping is on the rise? And another colleague said, oh yeah, of course, yeah, kidnapping will be on the rise in Nigeria because it's Christmas. Christmas is coming and people need to celebrate. But that is one of the sad situations. Yeah, you flip on the switch, there's light. So even if I miss Nigeria so much and I want to go back, within 2-3 days, I'm longing to come back here. Because within 3 days, I have switched on the generator on and off severally. And so I think it's just that situation, the environment. We love Nigeria. We want to go back to Nigeria. But then you think of all that and the convenience, and then the security issues. And then you say, you know what, I'm fine here. And if I'm going to be here, then I better make it worthwhile. And I think that's what's happening with Nigerians that are thriving here. There's no other recipe. It's got to be that.
So basically you're saying just that determination, like I can't go back. There has to be more. And now that I'm in an environment where it seems I'm getting more exposure, the amenities that I would fast and pray over for 7 days or 21 days, I have it here at a snap. So basically, that's what you're saying.
Yeah,
the society makes
you know,
it easier.
It does. And you've got to realize as well, people who leave have left practically everything. They've left jobs. They've sold assets. So if you don't succeed here, what other option is there? You have to go back and start from scratch. Who wants to do that? Because people already moving means you're starting from scratch. I had to go back to law school here to qualify as a lawyer after graduating from law school how many years ago. Lots of us had to do that. Doctors, lawyers, professionals. And then you go back to Nigeria. Are you going to start a law practice all over? Are you going to start knocking on the doors of banks with your resume? You've been out of the system. Like, so it's like once you leave, you know there is no plan B. So there's that determination to succeed.
All right. Franca.
I was going to ask. Yeah, it seems from everything we have said, it seems very easy. What I want to ask is, are we saying they don't face any difficulties? Because, you know, it says they have to go, there's this resilient spirit. So definitely they have to go through so many hurdles to get to where they get to. So what are these things? Can you give us an insight to, like, things you had to pass through? You've been there for 19 years, because people would also need to know that you need to put in a lot of work. It's not just manual work, mental and all that. So what are those things that a lot of them have to pass through to strive, to get to where they get to be celebrated?
I can speak from a personal perspective.
Okay.
I just mentioned I had to go back to school. Now, going back to school wasn't school as in 4 walls of a school, of a college. I had to self-read at home, self-study.
Okay.
When I came, my husband wasn't here. I have 4 kids. And at the time, they were aged between 18 months and 13 years.
Oh,
now they are 20 and 31. And so being the only parent here to take care of those kids, drive them to school, back. In Nigeria, you had a driver. In Nigeria, you had domestic servants. There's a gate man. Here, there's no, and I was the gate man, I was the tailor, I was the hairdresser. I didn't know how to make hair. I have 4 daughters. I had to learn to braid their hair and braid my own hair. Why? Even if you have the money, you will have to drive to look for someone to braid their hair. With 4 kids, how long am I going to wait to
That's
have
hard,
one person
isn't it?
to, like, all of their hair done. And then, of course, I'm going to have to take care of my hair. And then you get home, there's no house help waiting for you. You do your grocery and you fix dinner and you do all of that. And oh, by the way, you go to work, you still have a 9 to 5 because there's mortgage to be paid. And then when the snow comes, you shovel the snow because there's no gatesman, there's no house help, there's no one. So that is just putting it mildly, because that has to do with your family life and study. So when I qualified to go and write the bar exam after studying to just be accredited to write the bar, I will drop my kids in school in the morning. The library opens at 9. I had to stop working because I really wanted to get my bar done in record time. And so I would drop my kids in school. By 8:30, I was at the library door. And I will study there in the library until it was 3 o'clock, and I'll leave to go and pick my kids from school.
Oh, wow.
Sit down with them, make sure they have their homework done if there's any homework. Take them to extracurricular and then come back. And then by 6 or 7:30, I'm back to the library because the library will close at 9. I did that religiously. And so that is just me. But imagine someone who also has to do 2 jobs on top of studying. I have friends, male friends, who were working as security guards for maybe nightclubs. They would do a night job. They were studying for the same bar exams, and they had family, they had wives and kids. So they would do the night job as security guards, go home at about 5 a.m. in the morning, and by 9 a.m. they are resuming at a day job to close at maybe 3 or 4 o'clock, and then in between find time to study. So those are the kind of things you face. We've not even touched the society, the social part, where people look at you and ask questions like, "You're really good in English. Where do you come from? You speak good English." Now, they're not complimenting you.
Oh, okay.
More of an insult that, "Oh, wow, you speak English." So that is one. When I started practicing as a lawyer, I live in a predominantly white community. And so when I went to the court for the first time, the lawyer on the other side, who was representing the woman, I was representing the husband, and he was representing the wife, the family law matter. I came into court, and I thought I was well dressed. I wanted to, make a mark that I know I'm Black, but I wanted to show that, okay, I belong here. So I put an extra effort. I got to court. It was a predominantly white court, where you have the white big boys being friends with the judge whom they had gone to school with. And in comes this Black woman wanting to, oppose a bigger lawyer. Fortunately, we don't have things like SANS and things like that here, and there's no order of seniority when you go to court. Everybody goes in. And so I went in and I sat in the counsel's chair because I was counsel. I am counsel. And the guy looked at me and said, "Oh, sorry, this is reserved for counsel." Meaning, he didn't expect a Black person to be counsel. And so I said, "Oh, I am so sorry.
I am the counsel."
But I didn't get up. No, I didn't say I was counsel. I
Okay.
said, "I'm so sorry." And I smiled and I continued, what I was doing. I was waiting for my client to come, so she hadn't come. So of course he didn't know I was representing. And so he kept staring at me like, "Did she not hear what I just said? Why is she still sitting here?" So I kept quiet. And a few minutes later, the judge comes in and they said, "All rise," and everybody rose. And then they said, it was time for counsels to introduce each other. My client walked in, sits beside me, and I said, "Counsel for the defendant, or for the applicant rather." And he stared at me. You could see the blood drain on his face, and I smiled at him. I just smiled at him, you know.
All
Came
right,
out.
Modupe, I'm afraid we're almost running out of time. I have to cut you, but quite an interesting story. I could listen to you and your experience all day. I'm telling you, all day. You've got, I mean, 19 years. I imagine you've got a truckload of stories and experiences to share with us. But we look forward to having you another time because, like you said, we have a whole lot to unpack. But before we wrap up, let's read this message. Says, good evening, my dear beautiful sisters of What Are You Saying? #ways. The resilient spirit of Nigerians living in diaspora. I am not against anyone moving from one country to another, but there must be a genuine and concrete reason for it. You don't just wake up in the morning and decide to relocate abroad without any tangible reason. It is not proper. We need to follow due processes. My dear beautiful sister Franca made mention of people being in a hurry to relocate and asked the question, if there is any way of going through a preparatory class to relocate. Your beautiful guest made mention of asking questions and reaching people that are related to you in the diaspora to know whether it is safe and convenient for us to come over to avoid complications and getting into problems. She also added that even if we relocate, we may still want to come back. She also said that people who leave have left a lot of things behind, like their own personal assets. She added that the reason why people relocate is simply because of political reasons and the level of our economy. My dear beautiful sister Sandra, is it nice to have you back? It's been a while. Nice anchoring the show. My name is Daniel Ehinlaiy, regular fam. Thank you, Daniel. I think that's pretty much a summary of everything we discussed on the show today. Sadly, we can't take more questions. We're racing for time, but thank you so much, Modupe, and we are looking forward to Bond Awards making the news. We want to know everything that happened.
Thank you so very much. It was really a pleasure being here and pleasure meeting all of you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. Do enjoy the rest of your day. All right, before we go, do ensure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Official Upgrade TV. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and most importantly, follow all of our social media engagements. And remember to like, share, comment, and invite your friends and family to watch us and follow us. If you missed our quote, here it is. To Nigerians everywhere, at home and in the diaspora, I am in awe of your talent, resilience, and innovation. I dey hail una. So whenever you get to watch this on YouTube, be it today, tomorrow, next month, remember to leave a comment. We definitely want to hear from you. And my dear ladies, Franca and Alera, thank you so much for co-hosting with me today. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Hey guys, it's Oluchi for Raise Breakfast. Thanks for always tuning in. Our research has shown that you're probably not subscribed to our channel. What are you waiting for? Make sure you hit that subscribe button below so you never miss out on our latest content and stay in the loop with all things Ways. If the channel grows, it means more great content for you guys. So hit that subscribe button now.